Welcome to Creepy Crypt, where I share interesting content from the realm of the living. I'm Annie Calavera. Today I am going to share some creepy stories from around the web. So, dim the lights, sit back, relax, and let's get started. People who have seen something they could never explain. What was the thing? One night, years after high school and I'd gotten married, I had a vivid and very sad dream about the first boyfriend I ever really loved. We were 15 and 16, broke up about 3 years later because he really got into drugs. I had this dream maybe 9 years after that. I dreamed I was walking down a crowded sidewalk in some big city and I bumped into him going the direction I just came from. He was crying and he asked me for help. I can't remember if the dream changed then or I woke up, but it was just that little snippet of seeing his face. It was so clear. I still remember how his beautiful blue eyes looked. I don't know why I waited a couple more years to call his mother and ask about him one day when I recalled that dream for some reason. But I did call her. It turns out he had died in a freak accident around the time I had that dream. He had a car in his garage that he was working on. He had climbed on the hood for some reason, to do something, and he fell. Broke his neck, and it was fatal. Now I'm always sad and a little creeped out every time I think of that dream. Probably always will be. I, 13 at the time, was about to go to bed. I was brushing my teeth in front of my bedroom window, staring into the dark, when I suddenly heard someone screaming outside. I stopped brushing so I could hear it better. Someone was screaming out my name. I sort of froze and kept listening. More voices joined, all screaming my name and laughing loudly. It was kind of like an audience at a sports game. It went on for about 5 minutes. When it stopped, I, in shock, went downstairs to my parents to ask them if they'd heard anything. It was impossible not to hear as it was very loud. They had not heard anything. I assume it was some sort of a hallucination. Still feel weird when I'm alone in my room late at night. A few years ago, I was staying in Alabama with a friend. One day I was driving down a steep road in the rain and fog. It wasn't quite night yet, but it was getting dark. Within the blink of an eye, there was a little girl on the side of the road walking towards my car, and I thought I was about to hit her head on, and she disappeared. I panicked and turned around, and there was no one. I'll never forget it because my brain just can't make sense of it. 2 missing hours, I posted about it on another account. Setup, I used to be a home health aide for the disabled/elderly. I stayed overnights to help them get up, use the restroom, change, clean them, etc. I used to take care of a man named Mr. M. We kept an old large clock alarm that chimed every hour. Every 2 hours we'd roll Mr. M over and change his pads. We recorded everything that happened in a notebook by the clock. Story, it was a usual day until around 2 a.m. I heard the chimes ring twice, wrote down that I was going in, then went in, wrote what I did, changed his pads, wrote the time I got done, then went back to the kitchen where I sat every night, having my laptop set up to pass the time. About 15 minutes pass, and I hear the clock chime again. 4 times. I look at my computer, thinking the clock was wrong, and no. 4 a.m. I look at the notes, no new notes. I write that I'm going and I go in to change Mr. M's pads. I walk in, and he looks at me and asks, "Weren't you just in here?" I said yeah, then went with changing his pads. They were dry, a rarity. I still have no idea what happened to those 2 hours. It was like 2 hours passed in 15 minutes. And 3 o'clock was skipped completely. I was watching a YouTube series at the time, and my video would have ended in that 2 hours. I have no idea to this day what the hell happened. I was 7 or 8 years old. My mom had put me to bed and went to my sister's room to do the same for her. I was tucked in with my head on my 2 pillows. Both my hands were wrapped up in the blankets because it was a cold night and we didn't have too much money to heat the home. Then, without warning, one of the pillows under my head flew out from underneath me toward the wall with an insane force, as if someone had violently pulled it out from under my head. I turned over and there was nobody there. There's no way someone could have pushed it, and I was facing the direction it would have been pulled from. I ran to my sister's room to hug my mom and ask her what on earth happened. She dismissed it and told me to go back to bed. Naturally, I stayed up the whole rest of the night, lol. I still can't work the physics of what happened out to this day. I was standing on the seaside walkway with a bunch of other people watching the sunset. A red orb came speeding down the coastline at like 50-150 m altitude. Didn't think much of it until it instantly stopped and speeded back the way it came until it was out of sight. No noise, too low for a plane or helicopter, and wasn't a flare because it was flying fast, stopped instantly, and then flew back the way it came. Several people saw it, but this was before mobile phones with cameras were a mainstream thing. My ex-boyfriend is a diagnosed schizophrenic, and he often told me about the things/people he saw and heard. One summer, on several late nights, he kept seeing a big, dark creature in the middle of the road on the way to drop me off home. He'd stop the car in a panic and wake me up. I'd always fall asleep on the way home, and try to get me to see this creature. I never saw anything, so I told him it was probably his schizophrenia. Well, on one night I stayed awake on the drive home and I saw the damn creature in the road. It had the body of a huge bear, long horse-like legs. It didn't seem to have a neck. It was blacker than night, and had a glowing white Cheshire grin. I said, "What the fuck is that?" And my boyfriend said, "See, I've been trying to tell you." We watched it cross the road and disappear in thin air. That was the last time he and I ever saw the thing. This was about 10 years ago. When I was at university in my second year, we lived in a terraced house. I have a history of vivid/lucid dreams, and had just recently at this time experienced a couple episodes of sleep paralysis. One night I wake up, I think, anyway, and I remember staring at the doorway completely frozen and seeing the shadows of two men there. They were whispering about taking me and discussing whether I was asleep. I remember hearing, "Shh, go back to sleep." It was completely fuzzy and dark, and I was in that very much blurred reality stage of not being able to tell if I was awake properly or not. I couldn't move at all, and chalked it up to sleep paralysis and went back to sleep. I wouldn't have thought twice about it, except the police knocked on our door that afternoon. I wasn't in, my housemates told me, and said our neighbor had had their house broken into that same night. The real kicker is that at the time our front door lock was broken, anyone could have come in and left without us knowing. To this day I will truly never know if it was a coincidentally bad day to have a nightmare, or a lucky escape. A tree fell in front of us while we were driving. It almost killed us. Moments later, a group of men dressed in nice clothes just happened to have chainsaws in their car that was black and black tinted windows. They started cutting up the tree. We quickly turned around and said nope. I tried to tell myself that it was just Mormons who happened to have chainsaws in the back of their car. I called my mom the other day to see if she still remembers that incident, and she does. This incident happened to me when I was 10 years old. My friend and I were cycling. It was around 7:15, and it had gotten dark. There was a road where we usually cycled, but it was a dead end. There were bushes on one side and a wall with barbed wires. At the end of the road, there was a residential complex on the right side, and a small route led to the farms. The middle part of the road was all quiet and dark. My friend and I were just chatting and cycling when I heard a sound. I don't remember it well, but it seemed like a little girl weeping. Just as I was about to ask my friend, "Hey, did you hear that?" he shouted, "Run!" When we reached the other side of the road where the residential complex was, I asked him, "What the heck, bro? What happened?" He was shivering in fear and said he saw a woman in the bushes with a big white eye. When some people appeared on the road, we quickly left. We were shivering with fear, and to this day, we don't know how to explain it. Thank you for joining me today. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more interesting content. And I hope I don't see you for a very long time.